Dogecoin, the Dodgers, Dodge Cars. Is that the same company? What's going on? What the fuck's going on? You might find out on I Don't Know About That with Jim Jefferies. We're all starting the show now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to I Don't Know About That with me, Jim Jefferies. You might know me from this podcast or several panel shows 20 years ago in Britain. I was always on them talking about, that bit of music. Oh, what happened in the news? Oh, Tony Blair, am I right? How are you all doing?
Good. Speaking of Dogecoin, I have a little bit in Dogecoin, and I
got out.
I bought in at 0.04, and it went up to 43 cents this weekend. It's back down to like 30 cents. But
yeah.
Wait, you got it at 0.04?
Yeah, I got it in 4 cents.
You got it in 4 cents? I got it in 5 cents.
Yeah.
All right.
So
how many did you buy? One.
450. So not a ton. I just wanted to throw like 25, 50 bucks in there.
Yeah, you're right.
Wait, so 450.
450 shares at 4 cents.
At 4 cents.
Like $450.
Now it's sitting at about 30 cents, 32 cents.
I thought you were saying $450 because that'd be a lot then.
Yeah, that would be a risk that I wasn't willing to take. I have about $450 in my bank account. So
I have some big news that you guys already know, but my wife's pregnant. She has been for the
Yay!
Right.
We're having a baby, I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I think.
That's what
Carries
the
out.
doctors say.
Yeah. And also, I mention this because I'm also going to be touring Australia in July. And we're now discussing with the doctors whether me and my wife we have to quarantine for a couple of weeks in a hotel room before I am allowed into Australia. So if you're in Australia in July, I'll be doing all the major cities one at a time. So come and find me there. But my question is who would want to quarantine with a pregnant person for 2 weeks? It could be a stressful time. So I've written into my contract, I'll do it as long as I can have Uber Eats. No Uber Eats, no shows, because that's what you do with the pregnant. You throw food at them. I'm a bit upset today. Here's a thing, there you go. You know.
What do you mean if you can have Uber Eats? You mean if they'll pay for it?
No, because if you stay in the hotels, you get given boxed food like you're on an airplane, right?
Yeah, okay.
But I'm having it so I can pay a little bit extra in the room and I can have a concierge service where they bring me food. So I think they'll make all the difference to the entire experience of because basically that's what I do now, except for coming here.
Yeah.
So it'll just be like that with a different, a sea breeze. So I'm looking forward to that going to Australia. With the wife, it's we're doing all the things like you can't drink coffee and you can't, like we weren't expecting to get we got married and then she got pregnant soon afterwards, but we weren't planning on doing this for a couple of years and this just happened. Who knows how these things happen?
I don't get it.
Anyway, so I find it funny that so she goes, I want to have a swim. My wife's very particular about temperature of water, and so they say that you can't have the pool above 90 degrees, right? And she won't swim in a pool that is less than 85. So I'm like a fucking scientist, and I'm going, it's right in the sweet spot. And then one day it was like 92 degrees, and I was like, just fucking swim in the pool. And she goes, no, I can't drink coffee, and I can't eat raw fish, and I can't swim in a pool. Yet the doctor said it was all right for us to keep fucking. You're banging your wife as hard as you can, and the baby's jostling around, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, make sure you don't have a coffee. Anyway, as I said, as always, my mother-in-law's listening. Hello, Becca.
Your dick will never reach the baby, guys. Don't worry about having sex while you're pregnant.
Yeah, but it's the jolting back and forth that you go to a theme park. You can't go on a merry-go-round. Pregnant people can't ride this ride. I don't know how you have sex, but it's a lot of shaking back and forth, you know?
Oh, usually it's just, and then it's done.
Wow. That's how Kelly comes, evidently.
No, that wasn't me coming, by the way.
This is Kelly. What's your name?
No, that's the men's.
All
of them.
Okay.
Well, that was a bit much, Kelly Bear. So what do you got for us, Jack?
Common World.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4. Jack's gonna read your coming out of Common World. Common World. Jack's gonna read your coming out of Common World. Common World. Wee. Fuck off, see you later. No one gives a fuck.
Could have ended it sooner.
Yeah.
Tommy's the only one in the room who can't hear it.
Hey, party on, Jack.
That was by the Thorazines.
That was a whole
Oh,
band.
it's a real band.
Yeah, it's a band.
I was gonna say, it was a lot of production.
Rather well
for
put
one.
together.
Good name, Thorazine.
The Thorazines,
The
where are they from?
Thorazines. I don't know.
All right.
Australia.
It was very well put together. Thank you, Thorazine.
First comment, we got a review. The eclectic mix of professionalism and complete amateurism makes this podcast absolutely one of the best. 10 out of 10.
All right. I've always thought that I was a good mix of those two things.
I can't tell if it's really a compliment or not.
I don't know. This comes from a dumb fuck from Australia. I know jack shit. This podcast is like getting wasted and sitting on a beanbag listening to my stoner mates. Loved it. Signed, some dumb Aussie cunt. 5 stars. Excellent. Thank you for your review.
Thank you.
Mm.
All right.
This one's called It's Good. 5 stars. Almost skipped over the birds episode, and I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
Kelly was the funniest she's been to date.
Ooh.
Mm.
Finding out she's over 6 foot was enticing also.
Enticing?
Never tired of the Dave Grohl jokes. Feel like he'd approve. Jack looks like Dave Grohl if he dressed up as Hannah Gadsby. Except Jack is tolerable. Can't wait for the next one.
No, you look more like Hannah Gatsby dressed up as Dave Grohl.
Well, speaking of Dave Grohl, there's other ones.
Oh, yeah. It's him.
Jack looks like when you want brand name Dave Grohl, but your mom says we have Dave Grohl at home.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a
good one.
Yeah.
You look like Dave Grohl if Dave Grohl walked into a hornet's nest.
Close. He looks like Dave Grohl if he accidentally inhaled a bee while eating a sandwich
Oh.
and was stung in the throat. My throat?
Wow.
What's wrong with my throat? Fuck.
So Jim wrote that review then.
Yeah.
We're clear
Yeah.
on, right? That was a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
He
You-
look.
You look
Trying to
like,
find a comment. Okay. Go.
He looks like Dave Grohl never left the farm.
oh, Dave Grohl didn't start on a farm, did he?
I don't know. I'm not even sure what that means.
You look like Dave Grohl if Dave Grohl ate Kurt Cobain after he died.
Interesting reference because this guy says Jack looks like Dave Grohl in utero.
Oh,
Mm.
We're finding out Jim's
oh
written all of
I've
these.
just seen the photos. I think you look like Dave Grohl if Dave Grohl was in a womb and they used an ultrasound photo.
Oh, there
That's
you
a good one.
Not that ugly. Damn. Last one I have here is Jack looks like someone tried to carve Dave Grohl out of a cheddar cheese log. That's the
That's
best
true.
one. Thank you, Keith Mortimer, for the best one.
Yeah.
Mortimer.
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 I get a lot of people commented about this. When I was talking about Gretzky, I wanted to say first round draft picks, but I said first round raft picks, and everyone's getting on my case about it.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Apparently, that's called a spoonerism.
Oh, people were like, "Why didn't you call him out?" I'm like, "Cause he just flubbed his words.
He flubbed
It's
his
not
words.
That big of a deal."
Spoonerism is when you just switch the first, like,
Like
letter.
no whacking furries.
yes,
All right.
spoonerism.
Why didn't we call him out? Yes, we need to pick on Jack more. On the
Yeah.
I
show.
know.
So,
People are already mad at us for what we do.
someone said if I was Jack, I'd bust Forrest in the mouth and quit.
Jesus.
Never seen
Christ.
someone disrespected so much. It's ridiculous.
They bust me in the mouth?
Yeah, he
What
said
am-
you're the
I-
mean one.
Yeah,
I would bust
I'm-
you in the mouth.
First of all,
Everything
I
I
don't
say has
hire-
everything I say has a tinge of love.
What do I
Me
do?
too.
Like Jack, you're stupid. But we're mates.
Just kidding.
But I love when all my friends are dumber than me.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even employ you. You don't have to quit. You can just
No, I
punch
don't
me in the
need to
mouth
quit.
and see what
Yeah, but
happens.
your co-workers.
See what that happens.
You're working in the same building.
No, let's see what happens, dude.
Listen,
We'll
Jack,
put you on
despite
the-
what
no, let's see what the
everybody
fuck
here
happens,
thinks
bro.
about you, I think
Look,
you're
Come on,
great.
look, let's be honest. This company has no HR department. We can all punch each other whenever we want.
We're gonna third party it to Tommy Caprio.
Yeah.
Yeah, just try it though, dude. See what happens.
You're
Yeah.
scaring me.
Yeah, just pop him in the mouth right now.
Another person said when Jack eventually snaps, it'll be hilarious. I picture him attempting to roundhouse Forrest and karate chop Jim while shouting out his attack moves. And then someone follows up with that and then take Kelly on a date.
I think you two
No.
will
The
get together
fantasy-
one day.
No.
My mom
No,
thinks
yeah.
we were dating.
Oh no! In years and years' time, it's going to be like a very Harry Met Sally. We're like we're friends, and then one day at the office, after a bit too much Taco Bell, you had to lay down. There's only one couch.
A lot of my guy
Neither of you
friends'
could
moms
stand.
think we're dating.
Oh.
But I think
Wow.
it's just because a lot of them don't date. And so they're like, please just date.
Oh, it's a guy
anyone."
and girl.
Yeah,
Nice. Must
yeah.
be dating. People love the joke book segment.
Has
They
your
want-
mum ever tried to set you up with anyone?
Yes.
Yeah, how did that go?
She tried. She
You
asked
should
when
meet
she
my
came out here.
son.
She asked my roommate. She goes, "Why won't he date you?" And she's like, I don't know.
She's like, I think he probably would.
I was like, Mom, she's gay.
Yeah,
This never happened.
because I was born with the power of choice.
And then my mom thought Kelly and I were dating.
Really?
Yeah.
And you guys just have sex casually?
Yeah.
My friend Kevin's mom, my friend Kevin is gay, and his mom a long time ago always thought we were dating because I would like he was living in his mom's house and I would sleep over there. And one time he had to go to the doctor because he had strained a sperm duct from masturbating too much, I guess. And so he went to the doctor and she was like, why do you have to go to the doctor? Why do you have to go to the doctor? And he's like, I'm not telling you. And finally she gets to him and he's like, I strained a sperm duct, okay? And she goes, is Kelly okay? And I was like, and he was just like, yeah, she's fine. And he just never told her that we weren't fucking. And I was like, what the fuck, dude?
No. It's maybe because she masturbates too much as well.
Why is she always on my bed masturbating? That's so weird.
How are your sperm ducts, Kelly?
They're great.
Sperm ducts.
Didn't even know that.
They're like white birds.
Egrets.
It's in a James Bond book.
I learned that in the bird episode.
Yeah.
But people want us to do the joke book segment again.
Yeah,
So
people like that, eh?
Yep.
I'll pull some more jokes, maybe find a different joke book, maybe an older joke book. People also really like the credit episode. People are like, holy shit, I didn't know any of this. They should teach this in school. So
Wow.
Yeah, you think?
we taught some real things on the credit
Yeah,
episode.
I love how they teach in school things that are fucking pointless.
Geography.
My son's doing an assignment at the moment, which is for Earth Day or something like that, and we have to do something earthy. You know what I mean? And it's like all the things we're doing, making statues and stuff. We're making shit out of plastic.
We're destroying the earth. Yeah.
Earth Day. I'm going to spray paint something on a wall.
One of my friend's younger brothers is in college right now, and on the class syllabus is one of the classes they have to watch your gun routine.
Yeah, I know. I'm in universities. There's university. One of the big ones, like Cornell or something, has it as part of their thing, and people get out a thing and they go, and it's meant to be like a social dilemma-y thing.
Social dilemma, or like even had like to build an argument.
Yeah, I think it's for debating or something,
Wow.
but I've since said this very openly. A lot of those statistics were, you know.
Yeah, but you know,
They were common sense things I was trying to say. I wasn't trying, but.
after a presidential debate, they always go through and fact check it, and there's things that are wrong. So
Yeah.
you're fine.
Oh, no, it's no different. And there's still plenty of logic in that routine. There's plenty to watch, but I find it very bizarre that people, and they do that and they watch that routine and they don't watch the My Cunt's Broken. That's a good routine. That one I'm more proud of. There's bigger laughs in that routine. Don't blame me, your cunt's broken. Fucking hell, fantastic joke.
Someone says Forrest looks sexy holding his pen to his mouth all the time.
Oh, he was just doing
He
that.
was
He was
just
just doing that.
You know what's crazy? I have an email right here in front of me. We did not coordinate this. I just pulled this up from John Williams. Sounds fake. It says, "Hello, Forrest."
I am the writer of the Star Wars theme song and a fan of yours.
It says, "Hello, Forrest. My sense is that you are sincere and wanting to do a good job on the JJ YouTube show." Whatever the fuck that is. It's just get the fucking name right.
JJ YouTube show.
Putting your pen in front of your mouth while talking can make it hard to understand what you're saying, so you may want to break that habit. Take care.
Oh, no. It's
No,
Oh,
he's
fuck
being
yourself.
sexy.
Yeah.
He's being sexy.
What makes it hard to understand is very clearly when Forrest was a child, he was kicked in the larynx.
Got rocks in my throat. Yeah, so I've been meaning to put my man in my mouth more when I'm talking.
Someone said they'd buy a
but
queef
can I
from
say
Kelly.
one thing? Can I say one thing before you get to Kelly's queefs?
Yeah.
There's a comment that I know you're not going to read because it's technically negative
Okay.
about me that I saw because I was like looking through, and it was something about how they didn't think I was funny, and then just to be fair, they went in and watched all of any footage they could find of my stand-up. So I don't know if they watched like Conan or my special on Amazon Prime. Poor decisions. You can watch it, and they said not funny. ... Witty. Now, I want that person to look up the definition of witty. It means funny, fuckface. So, joke's on you.
Yeah.
That's
Pen in
it
my
with the
mouth.
yeah.
Yeah. He's
Yes,
very, but that's not much of a compliment. He's very witty.
No, it's not a compliment, but it still means funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still means funny. He's not funny. He's more humorous.
Yeah. Got a good humor bone.
Yeah, so someone wants to buy a queef from Kelly, and that must have been building off the guy who's selling his farts for NFTs.
Yeah, but you don't
We did
want
say we would jar our
Jim
farts.
said he would sell his phone.
I'd jar a fart up and sell it if there's the highest bidder.
How much, Kelly?
I don't know how to queef on command.
How many Dogecoins?
Ooh, 2,000 Dogecoins.
No,
It
well,
was
what
pretty
you
good.
do is you normally queef.
That's not a
But
lot.
do women queef when sex isn't involved? Are you just walking around queefing?
People can.
I always thought it was because the air was pushed up there.
Yeah.
And then it came out.
But there are girls like on TikTok now that do like queef on command videos. And you're like, not sure what the market
Well,
is.
just
for
keep
this.
a
But
jar.
obviously there is a market.
Keep a
there.
jar next to the bed.
Yeah,
This is
I
for-
always do.
This is for you. This is for you, Jack, as well, because you'll be there. Now, when
I'm gonna queef.
No, because we're having sex.
Yeah.
Remember?
Oh yes,
Call
yes.
back to 2 minutes ago.
We do that.
yeah.
and
We
then,
do
and then,
sex.
and then when the penis is removed, grab the jar
Yeah.
and put it. Just hold it over.
Yeah. I
there.
always have a jar next to the bed for that.
It's like
so
catching a queef in a bottle.
it is catching a
It
queef
is-
in a bottle.
It's not like that at all, Jack. That's
What we're
exactly
saying.
what we're saying.
It's fucking gay.
From the police song,
What
Queef
have
in
you-
a Bottle.
What have you never caught a queef in a bottle before?
If I
Talking like a
could see
fucking
the
rookie
queef
over here, Jack.
in
a bottle.
Queef in a bottle.
Oh. Someone said, "I love you, Jim. My dream is to be like you."
And that's from my brother Scott. Thanks for writing in. I know he listens to the podcast. That'll make him angry.
Yeah.
He'll be walking along. Fuck him. Oh, I won't play Call of Duty with him for a couple of days.
There's last comments about chickens,
All right.
and it's frightening.
Oh.
This guy goes, "I have like 50 chickens, and like 10 of them eat eggs if they find them. Also, all of them are pack animals. If one rushes to eat something, all of them rush after it. I've seen my chickens eat mice, pigeons, even other chicken. If they see blood, they pick at it. And when they taste it, they like the salt in the blood and they keep pecking until that chicken loses all her blood, dies, and gets eaten by the other chickens. It's not because they're starving. Chickens eat all day. They eat and poop. If you put them, it's bad grammar, this whole
Well,
thing.
you
If
get
they
the
put the
gist.
light at night, they will nonstop move around searching for food. They have grain, but still go around looking for bugs and stuff. So chickens sound horrible. Thank God we eat them.
I'm getting closer and closer to becoming vegan, and just the reason, and I know there's people like, I thought your gym changed. Like, no, it's just I morally don't want to eat animals, right? But the thing that stops me from becoming vegan is obviously animals taste so good, but another thing is, well, I just want one other animal in the kingdom of animals to also give up meat. You know,
Yeah.
just one tiger to go, yeah, I'm plant-based, man. I'm fucking like just not one animal has gone, oh no, I've gone the other way. It's just not right.
Well, because a tiger's a carnivore, but so you'd have to get another omnivore. So
Okay,
like
so
a
what's
raccoon, like a raccoon, I think is an omnivore.
Yeah, an
maybe.
omnivore.
I'm not sure actually what other like I'd have to
like so famous like okay, so gorillas are fucking herbivores, right? And they're big and strong and they're just eating fucking twigs and shit. So
Parrot.
I'm not one of these people who thinks if I give up meat then I'll lose energy and where will I find all my iron and all this type of crap. I'm not worried about that. But I just I'm having problems with taste.
Bears are omnivores because
I've given up pork. I haven't eaten pork for a while.
birds.
That's one thing I did do. Like, so we were on our bachelor party. I'd given up pork at that stage for about a year. So we came to my bachelor party. It was in the middle of COVID, right? And so that was the big thing. There was going to be no strippers or anything because it's COVID. We had like 8 blokes and we all went together to this house in Joshua Street. And so to my last night of freedom, what did I do? I ate ribs. I went, this will show her. Hey, you fucking don't control me right now. I'm there picking fucking pork off the bone. Freedom. That was the last bit of pork I ate.
Freedom pork.
All right, let's do some ads.
That's it. Okay.
Hey, everyone, Mother's Day's coming up. When's that happening?
I don't know.
May.
May. I gotta
First Sunday in May. First Sunday in May.
I gotta buy something for me bloody ex
Get her-
because my son's mother, and then the pregnant lady, she's gonna want something for Mother's Day. They all cash in on the Mother's Day.
Have you thought about bidets?
I don't know what to get him. What? Hello Tushy for Mum for Mother's Day. Now I know what you're thinking. You're sitting at home. You're thinking to yourself, maybe I don't want to focus on Mum's asshole at Mother's Day, right? Maybe I could go a more traditional gift like the flowers. Fuck flowers. She's had flowers. Do you know how happy she'd be with a clean asshole? Well, from knowing your mother quite well, very. Your mother loves a fucking clean asshole. Very clean. Bring your mum into the future with the brand new Hello Tushy 3.0 modern bidet system. It's stylish, eco-friendly, easy to install, and stop her flushing her retirement down the toilet with toilet paper costs. Hello Tushy 3.0 cleans butts good. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it does. That's what it's known for. It's known for cleaning the arseholes. But it doesn't stop there. It cleans itself with the Smart Spray automatic self-cleaning nozzle system. When you say anyone can put this shit together, right? Obviously not someone without arms. Don't be stupid. You need arms. You need arms to put it on. Or I did see one prick. There was this guy in the bar, no arms, just feet. And he was sitting in the corner drinking beer with his feet.
Figure it out, yeah.
That cunt could do it too.
Yeah.
And he probably needs the bidet more than anyone because wiping your ass with your feet is a real challenge. So this is really for anyone. Now, you say anyone can put this shit together. We mean even your parents. Yes, yours. Hello Tushy 3.0 attaches to their existing toilet with no electricity, extra plumbing, and no tech support FaceTimes. And it cuts your toilet paper use down by 80%. So Hello Tushy Bidet pays for itself in a few months. Not me, because I don't use much toilet paper, just leave the shit smeared around my arsehole. But it's paid me back in kindness. Plus, every Hello Tushy bidet attachment comes with a 60-day risk-free guarantee and a 12-month warranty. Mum's already got a Tushy on the pot. Your mum's already. Everyone just sit at home and think about that. Your mum takes shits. Think about her squeezing, curling one out, and your mum's sitting there and the shit, and then she's had a bit of a curry and it just splatters everywhere, and she's like, oh, God, I got to use toilet paper like a fucking idiot. Not anymore. Not anymore. Not anymore. She's already in the pot.
Okay.
Blow her away with upgrades to the new Hello Tushy 3.0. If she's new to the revolution, have her join millions of happy Tushy customers right now for a clean butt with every flush. Give the gift of a free asshole. Go to Hello Tushy of a clean asshole, not a free asshole. Clean asshole.
Free of poop.
Go to hellotushy.com/Jim to get 10% off plus free shipping. This special offer is for our listeners at hellotushy.com/Jim for 10% off. hellotushy.com/Jim. What do you got to wait, assholes?
Okay, please welcome our guest this week, David Lemieux.
Hello, David. Welcome to the show. We're about to do a segment we call
Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Judging a book by its cover.
Okay, I know nothing about David, but David's an expert in the Grateful Dead because I know that this is someone that Jack just has brought on the show, and you have a lot of Grateful Dead albums behind you. So I've used all my detective skills.
Oh, I didn't even see. I didn't see the poster behind David. Now
you see little Jack. Now he had his shirt all done up and all that stuff, and so the t-shirt was underneath. Now he's putting on the headband. Am I correct, David? You're an expert in the Grateful. Are you in the Grateful Dead? That's how little I know about the Grateful Dead.
I'm not in the Grateful Dead. I guess I know quite a bit about them. I worked for them. I've worked for them for a little while. So, yeah. I guess we're going to talk about them today.
All right.
David Lemieux has been the Grateful Dead's official audiovisual archivist since 1999 and their legacy manager since 2010. Over the past 22 years, Lemieux has produced scores of Grateful Dead CD and DVD releases, many of which have been certified gold, platinum, and multi-platinum by the RIAA, as well as several Grammy-nominated box sets. Lemieux was the supervising music producer on the Martin Scorsese-produced career-spanning documentary on the Grateful Dead, Long Strange Trip, The Untold Story of the Grateful Dead. And in 2002, the Grateful Dead renamed their primary archival release series Dave's Picks, as a testament to his expertise. And then on Twitter, you can find him at Lemieux David, which is LEMIEUX David, and then at Grateful Dead. So yeah, there's his credits.
All right.
So yeah, you can talk a little bit about how you came to this point, like with the Grateful Dead, if you want to.
The essence of my job, amongst many other things, is listening to Grateful Dead music. And as you mentioned, there's a series called Dave's Picks where I kind of go through the archive and find the really good shows. They played, well, we won't talk about what years, but they played quite a bit. And I find the best shows. We put them out on CD. We make box sets. We do things like that. So I come at it as a fan from when I was, I've been a fan for almost 40 years, since I was 13 years old. And I went to university for a while and did a bunch of things. And then I wrote them a letter in 1998 and suggested if they needed help archiving their video collection, I'm their guy. And they called me up and I went to California, went to the Bay Area. I'm from Canada, and went down to California, worked for them for a number of years. And then things moved from San Francisco to LA, and I didn't make the move. I moved back to Canada, where I still do the job as the archivist and legacy manager, but I do it from up here. So it's been 22 years of turning my passion into a career, and I love it. Every day is a fun day.
I'm not going to do well.
Yeah. This is our 50-something episode, and there's been some topics Jim hasn't known anything about, but he knew a little bit about. I don't know if you'll get any of these questions.
Would you like to know everything I know right now?
No. Well, let's just ask some of the questions.
Okay,
and
sure.
then the question and answer part might be very short. We just might get into the...
All the answers are jam band.
Well, okay.
You're already wrong.
I'm going to ask Jim everything he thinks he knows about the Grateful Dead. And then at the end of it, David, you're going to grade him 0 through 10, 10 being the best on accuracy. Kelly's going to grade him 0 through 10 on confidence. I'm going to grade him on et cetera.
I'm just going to say something off the bat. There'll be people who will go, that's not true. I don't think Grateful Dead were big in Australia, at least not when I was young. So I never really listened to the Grateful Dead. If you do a podcast on Midnight Oil, I'm down. I've got that all day. I've got that all day. But the Grateful Dead, I'm up for learning.
I'm going to pre-grade him on confidence. It's a 0.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll put them all together. 21 through 30, you'll be a grateful Jim. I don't think you're going to be that. 11 through 20 says thank you, but doesn't seem to mean it, Jim. And then 0 through 10, rude Jim.
All right. I didn't even know what that means.
Yeah, I don't get those jokes either.
Let's start. Can you name any members?
Jerry Garcia.
Yeah.
Crushing
You
it.
might
Nice.
get that. All right.
All right.
Anybody else?
I'll go through all the other ice creams. Is there one called Half Baked? All the Ben and Jerry flavors.
Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Dough.
Okay. What was the original name for the band?
Oh, the Happy Alive.
Okay.
Then Jerry died, and then it was the Grateful Dead.
We're only going to probably ask about 6 of these questions I can see so far. We'll just get into them.
The LSD people get on the LSD and like to watch him, and it's a band that people follow around. People like to follow them around.
Yeah.
And you don't get that as much. I'm sure there's people who follow Green Day or something, but there's not many people who get into a van and then paint it Green Day on the side.
There are other bands that
I know Fish. Tommy Caprio likes Fish.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of these American bands. I'm like, what's everyone up to here?
Yeah.
There's a cultural difference for me.
Okay. Do you know when they started playing together?
In high school.
Okay. Got together.
They were playing together in high school, and that would have been in the 1970s.
Mm-hmm. Are they still playing together? Still going?
The remaining members are still playing together, and Jack goes and sees them on. I used to work with a guy called Peter O'Fallon. He was a deadhead. I know they're called deadheads. Boom shakalaka.
Yeah.
Right. And there's dancing bears involved. All I know about the Grateful Dead is I've heard their songs in the background, but none of their merchandise matches their sound. Everything's like a skull and a thunderbolt and all that type of stuff, and then the music's more chill than that. You think it's going to be heavier.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like Savage Garden. You think that's going to be a good heavy metal band? Ooh, I want you. I don't. Oh, Savage.
Yeah, even better than you thought it was going to be.
When they think Savage, they go, "Oh, you're savage."
How many drummers does the band have? There you go.
Okay, well, I'm going to say 2.
Just because you think it's a question.
Yeah, because who's going to say, well, how many drummers did the Beatles have?
Maybe there's
well, one, but also Paul
maybe there's
played drums on some of the albums.
Maybe there's 3 drummers.
Yeah, I'm saying 2.
Do you know who Ken Keezy is? You might know who he is. You would...
It's those things that my wife has to do to keep a vagina tight.
It's a guy. I was asking, do you know who Ken Keezy
That's
is?
who she's
Kegels.
doing. He has a larger, smaller penis, so it wraps around it, and then my penis spills. And my mother-in-law's listening. Hello, Becca.
Okay. I don't think you know who Bear Owsley Stanley is. I'll skip it.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
How many top 40 hits did the Grateful Dead have? Can you name any of their songs? How about that?
I would say they had 5 top hits. They never had a number one. Never.
Can you name any songs?
Feeling Easy.
Nope.
A Doorway to the Sky.
This is not no. I'm not even what you would call a deadheader, but I mean I know enough about it.
I've been to a couple this boat. I missed it completely. I didn't even see it on the shore. I was asleep.
Okay,
Your alarm didn't go off.
Well, you'll learn today. How did they revolutionize the live concert experience? There's things that they did
because they do like songs that go for like ever, like 30-minute songs and shit. And like
anything else? There other stuff.
They were the first people to involve lighting.
There was no lighting before the Grateful Dead.
There was candles and stuff. Don't be silly. There was some lighting, but not actual proper lighting.
They used light bulbs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you said what are Grateful Dead fans called? You got that one, so we'll give you that. Do you know any famous Deadheads?
Jack Hackett.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Peter O'Fallon.
Yeah.
Famous Deadheads. I'm going to just say Woody Harrelson would be one.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson would be one. And then there'd be like some famous hippies throughout time that would have been right into it. So I'm going to say Janis Joplin liked them.
Well, speaking of that, are there any other musicians, like famous musicians that you would know that have played with the Dead? Do you even know? There are. I'm asking you. Do you know?
Yeah, Jimi Hendrix played with him.
Mm-hmm.
And
you know Jimi Hendrix?
And Mark Knopfler.
Mark Knopfler's a pretty good guess. I don't even know if that's true, but that might be your best guess so far. I don't even know if that's true.
He's the Sultan of Swing, man.
Yeah, I like him. That's good.
That's such an un-rock and roll song.
Okay.
What's it called? The Sultan of Swing. I'm the Sultan of Swing.
Do you know why they named it that song?
Right.
Because he was watching some late night band in a bar, and there's these guys just not doing very well, and they called themselves the Sultans of Swing. So that's really funny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Sultans.
Okay, so a couple more questions. We'll just get to David. He doesn't need this.
I don't know. Would it be proper cultural appropriation now to call yourself a sultan when you're not? Would there be some sultans that are like, no, that's my word?
I don't know. We'll have to send it in to the people.
If you're a sultan, please let us know.
If there's any sultans that
email
are
us
listening
at
to
idcatwjj@gmail.com.
Tell us if you're offended by the song Sultan of Swing by the white band
Dire Straits.
Yeah. From their album Brother of Arms from 1985. See, I know that.
Wow.
Jeez, I only know that because my brother listened to that album at nauseum, and it was the first CD to sell 1 million. I'm deflecting other knowledge that I know.
It was.
I know things. I swear.
It was Brothers in Arms. Anyways, got it wrong.
Damn.
I thought it was Brothers in Arms.
That's what I just said.
You said and arms.
In Arms.
Yeah, I said Brothers in Arms.
No, I don't think so.
I heard of arms.
Yeah, me too. All right. Why do the fans at concerts, Grateful Dead concerts, say "I need a miracle"?
Because their hearts have stopped working from all the drugs. They're laying in a field of mud, looking up at people, going, "I really need a miracle."
All right, I think we're good. I don't think you did very well, but we'll ask David.
This is. We found out how the podcast can be flawed.
No, it's not flawed. This is why we have the podcast, so people can learn about stuff. I mean, there's going to be people that know about the Grateful Dead, and there's going to be people.
I'm just going to say officially, I don't know about that.
Okay, so David, 0 through 10, how'd Jim do?
I'm going to give him about a 2 to 3, maybe.
He's a deadhead, man. They're cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So nice, David. So nice. 2 to 3. 0 confidence, Kelly?
Yeah, actually -5 on confidence.
Yeah, I'm going to give him -500 on
Rude Jim.
Yeah.
Rude Jim.
I didn't even have a category.
Now my score's going back to the crypto episode.
Okay, David. So members of the Grateful Dead. He said Jerry Garcia. That was one of the points he probably got, which are being very generous.
Yeah, and Deadhead 2 points.
No, and he was that have not members of the band. I'm saying.
But that's why I got 2 points.
I'm asking David now.
It was 10 questions, 2 answers right, 2 points.
Who were the members of the Grateful Dead, David?
Well, there's the founding members were Bob Weir, Bill Kreutzmann, Phil Lesh, and Pigpen, Ron McKernan, and Jerry, of course. And then Mickey shortly after, Mickey Hart. And then several keyboard players. It was kind of the hot seat where they came and went. A lot of them died in bad circumstances. But you got Jerry, and that's something.
Yeah. Jerry Garcia.
I even put on the sheet in case you couldn't figure one out. I was like, it's an ice cream flavor.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I know that. I know Jerry Garcia. I work backwards. That's the only reason I know who Jerry Garcia is. If the ice cream didn't exist.
He was a fan of Ben and Jerry's before.
Is Jerry Garcia alive, Jim?
No, he's dead.
Okay.
Yeah, I found that out the hard way.
What?
eating ice cream.
Yeah, I was eating ice creams, taking the piss, and someone started crying. No, I don't know. Someone told me.
By the way, Ben and Jerry's ice, there's too much stuff in there.
Yeah, too much stuff.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. What was the original name for the band?
I've gone to Lenti.
Yeah.
I've gone back to simpler times.
What was the original name for the band? I didn't ask you this. Why did they change it? And how did the Grateful Dead get their current name? These were the questions I didn't. Yeah.
And I said Alive Happy. They
Yeah, well-
changed it because Grateful Dead is obviously more catchy because it's lasted so long.
Okay, your part of this show's over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Answer questions.
Like how you
Just
just
let David answer the
reiterated his
questions, and you can
wrong
comment. Then you can comment on David's answers.
Original band name was the Warlocks, and in late 1965, Phil, the bass player, was flipping through some records in a store and found there was another band named the Warlocks, and they had already put a record out. So they said, well, we can't do that. Some speculation that was the early Velvet Underground, Lou Reed, and then so they changed it to Grateful Dead in December of 65. And they opened up a dictionary and they opened it to the page that went straight to Grateful Dead. It was kind of screaming out at them. And they looked at it. They said, that's exactly who we are. And they all just unanimously said, that's a great name. This was December 65. And they've been Grateful Dead for 56 years.
Yeah, the Warlocks.
Sorry, hold on, Jack. You have to take care of this quickly. The guy's out the front. He didn't find the apartment. Sorry about this. Sorry about this.
Jim's ordered some Taco Bell.
He thought it would come before. It's the fastest thing in the street.
he
He thought
hasn't
it would come
eaten yet.
before the podcast. I'm not going to eat it while I'm on air, but it took a bit longer, and now there's the Taco Bell downstairs. A lot of life decisions. I'm kicking a lot of goals here today, David.
I'm gonna shame eat some cheesy gordita crunches.
So the original name was the Warlocks. I also agree with you, Jim. Like I like a lot of the Grateful Dead songs. I've been to a few concerts and stuff, but I always was confused by like the artwork and stuff. Like Jim mentioned that too. There's a lot of skulls and skeletons, and it looks a little bit harder than it is. Like, how did that all come about? Like, why is that?
It does. Well, the skull and lightning bolt, I got the lightning bolt on my hoodie right here, was because they needed something when they were playing festivals, and all the other bands had their road cases, and the Dead needed something that was identifiable as their own thing, and it became a circle with a lightning bolt with red and blue, and then that morphed into the skull with lightning bolt. Grateful Dead, the Skull and Roses was just something that one of the original poster artists, Stanley Mouse and Alton Kelly, they put together, and the Dead loved it. They said that's kind of antithetical to who we are in a way. Like you say, the music is certainly not heavy. It's not heavy metal by any means. It's not dark. It's not sinister. But it was beautiful imagery. So they went with it. And then there are other images that they got into later, like the dancing bears, like the turtles, that are slightly less dark and ominous.
Now, why dancing bears? Is there something about, like when I see these images, I could go dancing bear, but is there some point or reason behind it, or something that people? There
is. One of the questions was, who was Owsley Stanley? His nickname was Bear because he was a strong guy. He was the Dead's benefactor when they didn't have any money. He was also an LSD manufacturer. He's the person single-handedly, I think, who turned on most people in America in the 1960s. And he had some money from that, not a huge amount, but he had some money. So he put it into the band, into the sound system. And his nickname was Bear. He was a strong guy, and he was small, but he was strong. Bear. And so he was the Dead's original sound guy. And then the name officially kind of caught on with Deadheads, with the fans, in 1973. They put an album out called Bear's Choice. And it was an album that Owsley chose some live material. And interestingly, one of the questions, I don't think we got to the second part about Bear. What country did he naturalize to? Australia. Oh. So Bear lived his last 30 years in Australia.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You spent longer there than me.
And it's going back to that. Jim at the beginning said when he was growing up, they didn't make it to, did they ever perform live in Australia or make it down there?
They didn't. One of my best friends here in Victoria, BC, he's Australian. He had never heard of them until early 90s when he started dating his wife. And she said, oh, the Grateful Dead, she's from Canada, and mentioned them. He'd never even heard of them. And so, he's from Melbourne, and they never played there. They only played in North America and mostly United States and a little bit in Europe, and that was it.
Right. Well, see, there you go.
You're off the hook, Jim.
We forgive you.
Yeah. I didn't know about the Grateful Dead. I had one mate who was a Deadhead fan who had the van and everything, but he was in Australia, so it was a pretty pointless task. he was just driving around delivering bears to people.
Yeah, my roommate in college was really into the Dead, and so when you have a roommate, you had little boom boxes back then, and I would play something that I'd want, and then he'd always put in like a bootleg copy, which is like all the live recordings. We'll talk about that, and so I just by accident started to learn all the Dead songs because he would constantly play them, and I went to 2 concerts, the same city, Hamilton, Ontario, and I would want to say it was probably like 92.
It was 90 or 92.
Yeah,
it was
90.
Wait a minute, you grew up in Florida. What were you doing in Hamilton,
I went
Ontario?
to school at Ithaca College in New York.
Oh, yeah, that makes
I went
more
to school in
sense.
Central New York.
Yeah, no, it checks out. Okay.
And I remember he was
I thought it was a brag. You were like going, I once went to Hamilton, Ontario. Ooh, someone's traveled.
Yeah, so I saw those 2 shows, I guess, and that's crazy that you would even. I guess they didn't play there a lot, so you would know that already. In your
4 times, March of '90, and then 2 shows in March of '92. I mean,
it was March.
March 20th and 21st.
This is a simple question. So the audience at a Grateful Dead concert, a lot of them are on drugs, correct? This is just
I don't know.
This is speculation, but
it is. But for me, it's speculation too. I wasn't at most of them, and
most of them.
As Forrest said, bootleg taping was a thing where the Dead allowed it, that people could bring in their microphones. And I was taping a lot of shows. I taped those Hamilton shows that Forrest was at, which means bringing your recording.
Oh, I'd love to hear those recordings. Just like, hey, you know where the bathroom is? And you're just like this, man, I'm trying to record the show. Hey, gambling.
Full disclosure, at that Hamilton show, I was on drugs. I will say this: it was a really great. To me, it was like my roommate's like, "Do you want tickets?" I remember he was on the phone. "Do you want tickets?" And my brain, I wasn't huge into the Dead, but I was just like, I got to go to this because it's like a part of American, pop culture.
I'd like to go just to see it.
Yeah, and so we drove up there. We spent 2 days or 2 nights there. I don't even remember. We slept in a hotel room with a bunch of other people, and then it was like. The scene in the parking lot is amazing. I mean, I'm sure you could talk that more, but it was like, there's just like drum circles and people like selling like food and just different like trinkets and then I had packed this down jacket because it was going to be cold. And I had bought 2 of these jackets because I think it was like buy one, get one. It was like a cheap jacket. And so I was walking around. I had these 2 jackets. I had one extra in a bag. I was walking around and this guy had a sign up and he goes, "We'll trade for jacket." Like it was cold. Like he wanted to trade something. And I just like, "Hey, I have another jacket." I was on like LSD, just so everybody. And I was like, "Hey, I have another jacket if you want it." So I was just like talking to him, and he goes, "Sure. What do you have to trade?"
Put it on the rock.
Stay warm, my friend.
I'll check on you later.
But I ended up trading him for a skateboard, and I skateboarded all around Hamilton on acid. Like it was really fun. And then I went to.
That's what Hamilton the musical should have been.
But it was an amazing time. I remember it being. But it is when you do go to those concerts, Jim. There's like a whole part in the center, and I'm sure David knows. Is like
it's called Shakedown Street.
Oh, is that what that's called? That was one of the questions we had. Yeah, where everyone has these microphones and they're recording stuff, and it's like, why did the band allow them to do that? Like to record,
go viral.
The Dead knew that their strength was in live performances. They made good. I love their albums, but I think their strength and their longevity was in what they did live. And I think they saw it as something, as Jerry once famously said, "When we're done with it, you can have it." And so, people to record those shows, and nobody sold them. That was the thing. Your roommate Forrest, who had all these tapes, they were all tape trading. They were never for sale. That was heavily shunned, the sale of these tapes, but you trade them. So your buddy in college has 100 and 200 tapes and another guy's 200. You find things that you don't have that he has, you make copies. So it was all about tape trading. And that's really, for me, it was a huge promotional thing because my tape collection was hundreds and hundreds of tapes. And it got me always listening to the Dead. So all I wanted to do was go to the next show. And, the record executives were always saying, well, you know what, if you allow this, nobody's going to buy your records. And the Dead said, well, nobody buys our records anyway, compared to another band. If you're the Zeppelin or the Eagles, people are buying those records. The Dead's records sold okay. They had a lot of gold records, but they didn't sell 10 million. They didn't do anything like that. So the Dead knew their strength was in the live show. It's kind of I mean, I think it was an inadvertent promotional aspect where they just figured that, there's no harm in it, is the way they saw it. And Deadheads, they were going to do it one way or the other.
Now, how different were each concerts that people wanted to have hundreds of records to listen to? I know that they sort of they sort of improvised a lot on stage or whatever, but like, were these shows vastly different from each other?
Vastly. You could see 4, 5 shows in a row, and I mean, in the era I was seeing shows, 1987 to 93, you could be pretty much guaranteed in those 4 nights, you go 4 nights in a row, 20, 22 songs a night, guaranteed you would not see one song repeated in those 4 nights. Because they worked an active repertoire of not just something that they would pull out once in a while, but an active repertoire at any time of 100 to 120 songs. And so they could draw on them at any time. And then there were the songs that they played very rarely that you'd see maybe once a tour. And those were the kind of things you kind of like get really excited about. But, certainly Forrest saw these 2 shows and he didn't see any repeated songs.
Yeah. And
I didn't know it was just not. I thought it was like when you come and see me, right? So when you come and see me, I'm on stage for an hour and a half. An hour of it's always pretty much the same. And then I dick around with another 30 minutes
for the next night. Yeah.
To the next night. So if you went 2 nights in a row, I always like to think that you're going to see something different if you come 2 nights in a row, right? But no, it's never a completely different set. That would be ridiculous.
But that, for me,
the first night was great. The second night was a bit weak.
You said the same thing.
And that just from being at the, which is such a spectacle, like in a good way, the parking lot to the concert and everything. I remember that was the anticipation. I was like, oh, I hope they play this song, or I wonder if they're going to play this.
My friends and I were always like, well, what are they going to start with? Oh, maybe it's
okay. So when you're saying the car park to the thing, like, did they only ever do like big outdoor gigs, or like when they play Madison Square Garden? Where does
it was like tailgating.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
tailgating.
David, and
Okay,
again, I don't
like when they're in the middle of the city, when they're
in
in Chicago, whatever, out the Chicago Theater or something, what happens then?
There might be a parking deck or whatever.
Where's your street?
Yeah, a place like Madison Square Garden, the Deadheads would just kind of take over. They played the Garden over 50 times, and they would take over the city blocks around it. But then at a venue that was a proper venue, maybe out in the suburbs, that had a massive parking lot, the Dead in Chicago, generally in the last few years, played Soldier Field, which held about 60,000. And because it was made for NFL football, it was filled with parking lots. And so like massive parking lots. And those are where people would show up at noon and, they party and play Frisbee and sell their wares all day long and then go into the show. Generally in the last, 15 years of the Grateful Dead's touring and right up to today with Dead and Company, which is what they're touring as, they're playing big venues, at least 15 to 18,000. And oftentimes Wrigley Field in Chicago or these bigger places, Soldier Field, they played 6 years ago. They sold out 3 nights at 74,000 people a night. And those were major parking lot scenes. And, the Shakedown Street where people are selling things and you can get anything there. And, this speaking to, what Jim had asked about, is everybody on drugs at the shows? And again, I can't speak to that. It wasn't my experience. But the nice thing about Dead shows is there is freedom to essentially do whatever you want. As long as you're not harming another person, there's complete acceptance and openness. And I mean, it was an incredible scene. It was like the last place I thought in America. I remember Bob Weir said this once, the rhythm guitar player, that it was like running away and joining the circus. And then you'd return to your life and go back to college or your job or whatever it was, or your family. But it was a safe place to go. I was traveling the country when I was 16, 17 years old, and my parents had no problem with it, knowing that the Dead scene was safe. So, I mean, it's a great place to grow up for sure.
So I can send my son away to do this.
Yeah.
Right? And you can leave for a bit.
Let him grow up a little bit.
No, but kids grow up so fast these days. So he'll be ready by 12 if he was ready by 16.
When we were on the Jim Jefferies show, the Dead and Company played at the Hollywood Bowl.
Never heard of it.
And they, because Shakedown Street got so big, Hollywood traffic was ruined for 2 days, like gridlocked, just because of all the Deadheads.
Oh, good.
And a lot of people in the parking lots never made it into the show.
Oh.
They just hung out in the parking lot. I saw a guy playing a hockey stick as an instrument. They're just hanging out in the parking lot for hours on end.
Yeah, that sounds like
Awesome.
Okay, now I know that you, David, you'll have to give a diplomatic answer on this. In the Deadhead community, are there any hot chicks? It doesn't feel like a hot chick environment.
I think Men and women at Dead shows, I'll say this. It's a healthy crew and it is a happy crew. And I mean, when you add healthy people with happy energy, I mean, I like to think that these people, men and women, we got great smiles out in these parking lots and everybody, I mean, it's a great place to be. I don't know how to answer that.
This is where you got me wrong here. I don't want there to be fucking hot chicks. That's what's keeping me from Coachella. They're the fucking worst. I'm trying to enjoy myself and you're taking photos and you're bitching about lines and shit. Shut up.
Yeah, no.
I like a band with a good ugly fan base.
Come to the parking lot.
Yeah.
I will say this, and I know that this is something you're talking about too. When I went to the concert, there was actually a lot of people that weren't on drugs because I remember I had that preconceived notion that like everyone's gonna be on drugs, and you get there and like, oh, you're not. I was like, I guess there's a lot of people on drugs, not on drugs, and I'm like, I'm on drugs though, so now I'm self-conscious about it. But I just want to say this, and the shake down the street. There's just a little thing that I think about. I thought about was I bought acid and I was behind a car and I bought some acid from a guy and my friend was with me and there was a random guy. He bought some acid, he put some on his tongue and then he took another piece and put it in a pouch around his neck. And then me and my friend are like, why did you put it in that pouch? And he goes, when Jerry Garcia dies, I'm going to take all this acid. And when Jerry Garcia died, that was the first thing I thought of was that guy. And I was like, I hope that guy's okay. And I hope he did not take all that acid. I hope he came to his senses. I don't know how that's going to help anything in this situation.
It's one of the few. I've never indulged in the LSD.
Me neither.
It's never been a thing. I feel like I get what I need from mushrooms.
But I would say there's only 2 concerts I went to and you could be sober and completely, you don't need drugs to enjoy. It was like a very amazing experience. And
I used to get wasted at Paul McCartney concerts. don't worry about
Tiffany.
me. Yeah, I've been on cocaine at Crowded House.
This is really great
Hey
concert.
now.
Yeah, so I'm like, don't worry about the Grateful Dead. I'm there. I know what to do.
How many drummers? Jim says 2.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah.
2 drummers. Bill Kreutzmann was the founding member, and shortly after, a year and a half, 2 years later, Mickey Hart joined, and that's kind of when the Grateful Dead became the Grateful Dead. Now, Mickey did leave for a couple of years, 71 through 74, but then came back in 75 and was there through the duration right up to today. And Mickey and Billy together, they make an unbelievable sound and they propel the music forward and they do some incredible things. They complement each other. They don't, it's not just like 2 drummers playing the same thing and therefore it's much louder. It's 2 very complementary drummers, whereas Mickey is a little more percussive and adds a lot of color, whereas Billy kind of keeps things straight. Very complementary. I mean, the Grateful Dead wouldn't be the Grateful Dead without those 2 guys. Certainly.
And Mickey did like the score for like Apocalypse Now or something. He did all the drum work on it. It's like almost the whole score of that movie.
Mickey. Yeah, Billy and Mickey, they were called the Rhythm Devils, and Francis Ford Coppola hired them to do some of the music for the jungle scenes as they're going through the jungle on the boat. And it's quiet, but you hear this percussive jungle music, and that was Billy and Mickey and some of their friends doing some incredible stuff. So yeah, that was 1979. The Dead have been around a while, and they've done a lot of cool things through those 56 years they've been playing.
And I asked Jim this, but there are other notable musicians that have played with the Dead through the years besides the founding members, right?
Certainly. They were, friends with Jimi Hendrix never did play with them. Certainly a contemporary, but didn't play with them. Janis Joplin certainly sat in a couple of times, and Janis was really good friends with the Grateful Dead. Huge respect, particularly Pigpen. I mentioned the original keyboard player and singer for the band. He died in 1973. He and Janis were incredibly tight because in the San Francisco music scene in the late 60s, there was a lot of LSD, there was a lot of drugs. And Janis and Pigpen, they didn't do the drugs. They were drinkers. Pigpen was a blues man. Janis was from Texas. And they bonded over the fact, they were both hardcore blues musicians, but they weren't on any drugs. But the Dead and Janis were incredibly tight. She sat in with them a few times. Carlos Santana sat in. Branford Marsalis very famously. Some of the Los Lobos guys, the Neville Brothers. A lot of bands.
Didn't John Mayer do stuff with them?
He's with them now.
John Mayer's. He's now the lead guitar player.
And he plays for them. Yeah.
Yeah, with Dead and Company, has been for 6 years now, since November of 2015, since the Dead's 50th anniversary. They did some big shows, and right after those, they reformed as with Bob Weir, the Dead's rhythm guitar player, and the two drummers, and then O'Teal on bass from the Allman Brothers, and Jeff from many Grateful Dead spinoffs on keyboards, and John Mayer on lead guitar. And I mean, what a perfect fit. This guy, I've never seen anyone work so hard at something. He really didn't know a lot about Grateful Dead music, but he knew a lot about music. Guy's incredibly talented, but he worked and still works his butt off because he knows it's a big responsibility to get up in front of 30 or 40,000 people and play this music that people have been listening to since before John was born. John's only 43 years old. So yeah, he knows his responsibility and he takes it seriously, and he's really good. He's good energy.
Ken Keezy, I asked Jim about him.
Yeah.
Do you know yet?
I told you what that was.
You actually would know. I don't know if you've seen the movie that the book he wrote is based on, but
What's the movie?
he wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh yeah, I know that movie. Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay,
yeah.
but he's involved with the Grateful Dead. How, I guess, David, you can tell us like how that. Yeah.
Ken Keezy was part of a scene in the mid '60s. They called themselves the Merry Pranksters, and they were really good friends with the Grateful Dead through mutual friends. And then Ken and his crew, and Ken had, a bit of money from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, from the book. And this was like 65, and they started throwing parties. Now, remember, 1965, LSD was still legal in California for another year. So they threw these parties called the acid tests. And as part of it, there would be, people just show up. There'd be a light show and there'd be, whatever, and there would be acid. And there'd be music. And one of the things is Keezy asked the Grateful Dead to come and play the acid test. So those were the first real Grateful Dead gigs. And they weren't gigs in the sense that they were paid and they had to play for 4 hours. They could get up and play 2 songs and people would dance, and then maybe they'd be too high and they'd just stop playing for 3 hours. And then they get up and play a couple more songs. So there was no pressure. And it was that freedom. You mentioned, Jim, about the Dead. You know this, that the Dead could get up and improvise, and they could play any song from, it could be a 5-minute song or a 20-minute song. And that comes from the acid test days, which was a very short period. It was a few months, but it gave them the freedom of basically doing what they felt at that moment. And an incredibly freeing experience. That those were the Dead's first real gigs, were these acid tests. So those were parties held by Ken Keezy and his Merry Pranksters.
So, so were the Dead on drugs on stage a lot? Or, because I know from my drug taking days that you can be on drugs on the Friday night show, but on the Saturday night show, you're a little bit more chill. And you're just taking care of your body so you can make it home.
Water tonight.
And tonight I'll be using the chair a lot.
I know in the early days, in the acid test days, most certainly, it was a big part of, Jim, you mentioned mushrooms, and, those are mind expanding drugs. Those are certainly not anything that's going to constrain your mind, and it's going to open things up. And for the Grateful Dead, LSD expanded their musical minds and allowed them to stretch things out and play things and understand what the other guy was doing and having that kind of group mindset. So in the early days, most certainly, it was a part of it. Later years, I don't know how long that went on for. I know that as the crowds got bigger and the shows became more shows, people are paying money. As you know, Jim, you have people coming to see you. You've got to be somewhat professional. And so
very good, David. Very good.
Got to do that. And so you've got that responsibility. So if they were, I mean, it certainly wouldn't be anything that would allow them the freedom of saying at any given time, I don't feel like playing right now, so I'm going to walk off stage for a couple hours until I get my head right. You can't do that. So I don't know. I don't think so. I certainly think they took this job very seriously. And that goes almost right after the acid test. By 67, 68, and really by 70 into 71, that's when they started headlining bigger places, arenas, places like the Philadelphia Spectrum. They could sell out as early as 1972. And that was like 19,000 people. So you've got this responsibility of putting on a proper performance. You've got to be there for it. So I don't think so. Again, I know these guys as my bosses, as people I've got to know quite a bit working with them in the studio and stuff. And certainly they're as sharp as anybody I've ever worked with or known in my life. So, I mean, they're certainly not now, but I don't know. After the acid test, I don't know. But certainly acid tests, I think, was a big part of what allowed them to freak freely.
What bands in our society now do we have that we wouldn't have if the Grateful Dead didn't exist? That was so heavily influenced that, there's a pathway to there.
I think a lot of them, and I think a lot of bands realize, both on a business level, that the Grateful Dead had a lot of practices that were out of the mainstream for most bands, on a business level, allowing taping, merchandise. The Dead had good merchandising going back early '70s. They did different shows every night, as we talked about, and that encourages people to go see many nights. My brother is a huge U2 fan, and he can see 3 U2 shows in a row and see virtually the identical show each night, same lighting cues, same everything. The Dead weren't like that. That would encourage people to come back any given night. The authenticity the Dead played with, you could see a mediocre show that might not inspire you so much to come back the next time, but you give it a chance, and that next show could really blow your mind. And it means that the next time they come to your city, or even nearby within a couple hundred miles, you're going to make it a point to go to that show. So all of those things, I think, gave a lot of bands nowadays the freedom of knowing that you can do that. That maybe for some bands, that's not really the business model, like U2, which plays the same show every night. But there's bands like Fish that certainly play a different show every night, that allow taping, that allow their fans to be themselves. There's a lot of bands like the String Cheese Incident, Mo. I know early on when Pearl Jam was getting really big in 92, 93, 94, they certainly looked to the Grateful Dead for a lot of their business practices, the online, not online ticketing, before the internet, but the Dead did mail order tickets. So when I was buying Grateful Dead tickets, this is a little box of stuff here, and this is my box of Grateful Dead ticket stubs that are all the ones that, yeah. So you mail order your tickets, and you get them directly from the band. The band would get an allotment of the 18,000 seat arena. The Dead would get 9,000 or 10,000 of those seats to sell directly to their fans. So Pearl Jam would look at that. They'd look at the taping, things like that. We talked about this the other day, that Metallica, pretty mainstream band, they started allowing a taping section where fans could come in with thousands of dollars in equipment, large microphone stands to get, you said, Jim, about people, you could hear them on the tapes, but we're not holding our mics. They're way up in the air. So, they're above the crowd. So you're getting a pretty good recording. And Metallica picked up that practice.
You'd still have personally. I was just trying to find the bathroom, and now I'm hanging up these rafters. Shit's really gone down. It'll help.
I lost my jacket.
So,
That's my young Forrest voice. I can do the one now. He's a different guy back then.
David, there's a lot of it. I wasn't a huge, I like the Grateful Dead. Like I said, I gave you some experience of, but I hear bands to this day, like, I don't know, Vampire Weekend is a band that they sound like the Grateful Dead sometimes in their song, like the phrasing and the way the guitar sound. And it's like, and that's a very modern, like, alt band now. That's like, that's like, you hear it. I think you hear it in a lot of bands too, like just the sound, like Wilco and like bands like that and stuff like that's like, and those are bands that are big now, but definitely.
Got my Wilco shirt on.
Right.
There you go. Look at that. It's like
nice.
we planned it.
Do you have the record for the most going to the concerts? That's an easy sentence.
Attending.
Most attend. Yeah. Who has gone to the most concerts? Is it you?
No, God, no. I've only seen the Dead from 87 to 93. I saw them 101 times.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, and that's nothing. Like, I've got plenty of friends. I mean, friends, most of my friends saw the Dead 200, 300 times, 350 times. I know people who saw them over 400 times. And this is people who would see them over the course of, 10 or 15 or 20 years. And they would see them 15 or 20 times a year. I mean, in the short amount of time I was seeing them, I think the most I saw them was probably 25 times in a year. A light year for me would be 8 or 10 shows because college got in the way or something. But it was that exciting to see the Dead and catch that great night amongst some really good ones. Generally, they were playing really, really well in the years I was seeing them, but then you'd get the magic night that would make sure that you never wanted to miss a show. And then you get the call from your friends saying, "Oh man, they're playing great this tour," and you'd make a trip to catch that end of that tour. So, it was never. I never went to see the Dead for 1 or 2 shows at a time. When you went to Hamilton, Forest, I didn't do anything like that. Maybe once or twice. It was always about catching 6 shows or 10 in a row and going. And the Dead generally, when I was seeing them, were doing 3 or 4 nights in a city. So it made it very easy where they could play 2 nights in Hamilton and then 3 nights in Albany, New York right after that, and then 3 nights at Nassau Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. So you'd be able to see them. They play 2 weeks at Madison Square Garden, do 8 or 9 shows at Madison Square Garden, and people just go there for 2 weeks and see all the shows. So, certainly what I saw was I wish I'd seen a lot more. And in my prime touring years, there were a lot of shows that I didn't see that I wish I had, that I could have, but I skipped them for whatever reason. One nice thing, Dead tickets were pretty inexpensive compared to other bands. They were $18 or $20 in the late 80s. And the other thing, as Forrest said when he stayed at a hotel, we generally pack 6 or 8 people into a hotel, so everybody would chip in $10 or $15. So it wasn't expensive. People would always say, how'd you afford that? But $500 would get you to 10 or 15 Dead shows.
It wasn't expensive, but extremely uncomfortable.
Sometimes not though. Yeah.
But when you're young, you're young. You can sleep on anything. Yeah. Jack, how many times have you seen the Dead?
Well, I've only seen Dead and Company, but maybe like 6 times.
See, I've seen Oasis over 20 times. I don't know the exact amount. And I will say this about Oasis, whether you like them or hate them, it is a different show every time. Now, the set list might be exactly the same. but you can literally go, oh, they're not getting along today. Oh, Liam's drunk and he's fallen over and he's rolling in his own feces. Noel's going to take over the singing for a bit.
Great shows.
So I actually didn't ask you this. You can answer it. When did they start playing together? But the thing I was going to say is when you answer that is, how many top 40 hits did they have and how many Grammys? Because they are arguably one of the most successful bands ever. And I'm just interested in what that number is. But yeah.
2 top 40 hits, Touch of Grey in 1987. That was the I Will Survive song. That was the one with the music video with the skeletons on stage that turned into the Grateful Dead band members. Big music video, 1987. And in 1970, they had Truckin'. And Truckin' kind of climbed slowly, and in various markets, it was hitting top 20. But they never had a number 1, as Jim said. And they were never really a radio band. You'd hear some things on some FM stations when the albums would come out, but the longevity of that stuff on the radio didn't last. It's a lot more prominent now. I certainly hear them a lot more on the radio, to the point now that on Sirius XM, there's a 24/7 Grateful Dead channel. They were the first band going back 14 years ago, 2007, that had their own channel on Sirius XM. So there's certainly many ways to consume your Grateful Dead now, but those were the 2. And as far as Grammys go, none, except 2007, they were given a Lifetime Achievement Grammys for the band members because they had recorded a lot. Now one thing where it's a more recent kind of, if you want to call it a record, last year they were in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most albums, the most live concert releases. And then they've also got the record for the most top 200 Billboard albums over the years. And we keep adding to that by 6 or 8 albums a year. The Dead keep putting out 6 or 8 archival albums that all make the top 200, and some are top 20 in terms of albums. So, they keep adding to this record. So they've got a few records that are, I don't think, ever going to be broken, partly because the numbers are so huge and partly because they keep getting added to as the Dead keep releasing more and more archival releases.
Now, if not for they had no number 1s, they had very few top 40 hits. They weren't played on the radio. How did they pop? How did they become such a? I understand they have such a big body of work and all, but how did the initial go from playing to 100 people in a bar to playing stadiums? What happened there? How did that happen?
It was the live concert experience that was so good. There was the famous phrase, "There is nothing like a Grateful Dead concert," and that's very true. And if you saw them once and you caught them on a good night, which they were most nights, you would never want to miss them again. So if they came anywhere within 500 miles of where you lived, you would go see them, and that's why you'd see people in Denver traveling up to Minnesota and over to Texas and over to Oklahoma to see them, because you didn't want to miss that magic. So there was that, and there was word of mouth that, you bring someone, Forrest has his roommate is like, oh, you got to see this.
It was a good show. Both shows were like, I did leave there like, wow, that was really good concerts. Like I was like, so,
There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And once you experience it, you don't want to miss it.
All right,
So
I have to see it. Is there something, I can see it on YouTube, right? I don't have to, or you have to be there.
Well, I
got some Blu-rays.
I got to see it with Jerry Garcia. I was lucky, I'm not bragging, but
you pulled in rookie numbers, only 2 shows.
Yeah, I know.
Loser.
But
I this is off the topic. This is when you open up your box of tickets. Now my mother has passed; she's not with us anymore, so I shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but I will in this moment. I collected as a child every movie ticket that I had gone to. From Uncle Buck was the first ticket I collected. Classic. Right. Anyway, I used to go to the movies like once a week. Right. So I had like hundreds of movies, every shitty film that ever came out I saw. And I kept them in a box. And it was my ticket stubs. And I don't know why I kept them. It was just a thing that I like movies and here's all my ticket stubs. Anyway, one time I arrived home late or something like that. And I came in my room. My mother had torn them all up and left them on the floor.
Tore them?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
She knew that because I used to get there as a little kid. I was like 14 or 15 or something. And I used to put them out on the bed and try to put them in order with all the dates. Like baseball cards or anything. You collect stupid shit when you're a kid. And I had such an affection towards these bits of paper. And she knew it, and she fucking tore them up. Bloody hell, I've never collected anything since.
That's brutal.
Start a new collection.
Yeah, I was going to say.
No, it was bloody hoarding.
Yeah.
There's 2 types of TV shows on those, like, on wherever Hoarders is, right?
Yeah.
There's Hoarders, right? And then there's those pickers. So there's one show where they're like, you've got too much shit, right? And then there's 2 blokes that go over to the house and go, look at all the shit this guy has. This is fantastic. What do you want for this rusty spring? I don't know. I could possibly give you it for $5. It's from a Coca-Cola cart. If you have the other parts, it's pretty valuable. And they're like, this is valuable. And then the show straight after it, this is all shit.
And then there's Antique Roadshow too.
Yeah,
I didn't even know I had something good. This is worth $1 million. What?
I can watch Antique Roadshow all day. I find it very enjoyable because you know that they're going back to Google. And then they go, oh, this is an artist, and this is actually you can see from the bottom here that this artist did. They've gone like this Google pewter fucking vase, fucking take a photo. Oh yes, it's a Dijon.
Dijon.
Great people. I didn't ask you what the wall of sound is. Do you know what that is?
No, I could guess it's a sound made out of wall.
It's a sound made
out of wall or a wall made out of sound.
Either way, man. Either way, man.
Whatever makes you feel good, bro.
Dead, man. It's like Keith Richards always said that silence is the canvas that music is painted on. So, yeah.
Did he say that?
He said something like that.
What's the wall of sound?
Wall of Sound was a Grateful Dead sound system that Owsley Bear, the guy we talked about, who lived his last 20 or 30 years in Australia, he developed a sound system with Dan Healy with the Dead Sound crew and some other sound experts. And they developed a sound system that was unlike anything in music history. And they only used it in 1974 at about 40 shows. It essentially bankrupted the Grateful Dead. It required the crew to work incredibly long hours that led to drugs that would keep you up incredibly long hours. And those drugs are not exactly conducive to, I think, good attitudes. And so the whole Grateful Dead scene became quite negative in that year. The music was phenomenal. The sound system, it was basically a sound system that instead of just like a left and right PA system, as you would see now, a line array, which you would have in concert, Jim. Instead of that, it was a wall, literally a wall of sound behind the band, an entire wall about 35 feet high with 600 or 700 speakers and amplifiers, and the band members themselves controlled what it sounded like. There was no front of house sound mixer because everything was mixed right there on the stage. So it's this incredible sound system that in the biggest arenas, whether it was, Philadelphia Spectrum, whatever it was, or stadiums even, the farthest seats in the place sounded crystal clear, no distortion. And if you were up front, crystal clear, loud, but not distorted loud. So it was this sound system. But again, it essentially bankrupted the Grateful Dead. It required them to take 2 years off. They took a hiatus at the end of 1974 that they'd actually considered this might be the end. We can't continue like this. It's killing us. And it bankrupted them too. They were flat broke. Playing stadiums, they were coming back broke. And so they came back, and when they came back to touring 2 years after that, in 1976, they came back to playing theaters and smaller arenas with a rented sound system, a regular old sound system that sounded great. They did a lot of development on sound, but the Wall of Sound was a sound system only used for 1 year for 40 shows. But it was magnificent. I mean, everybody who got to see the Grateful Dead in '74 still talks about it. And it was a mammoth thing. You'd walk in and, I remember when Rush was touring in the mid '80s, they had a laser light show, and it was part of the reviews of the show and even the previews when the Rush would come to your city. It was like, oh, and they're bringing their new laser light show. And it was part of the story. It was the music and it was this whole light show. The Dead were the same thing in '74. The Dead are coming to town. They're bringing their great music, but they're also bringing the sound system that's unlike anything you've ever heard. So it was this incredible sound system that essentially killed the band for a couple of years.
I lived with a Canadian for a while, a friend of ours, Jason Whitehead, who opens for me still. I know. It seems to me that Canadians like big, large bands that waffle on a bit, right? So, and I mean that in the nicest way. But it's like,
how could you mean that in a nice way?
No. But they're always, when you meet a Canadian, they're like, oh no, you got to listen to the sounds in between the sounds, man. Right? So it's like Rush, the Tragically Hip, the Grateful Dead. I know that the first two I said
Celine
are
Dion.
Yeah, but am I being racist, like bigoted saying this? I don't know, but it feels like Canadians like it's very popular in Canada, this type of music. Am I correct?
It is definitely Tragically Hip, huge. Tragically Hip can play any arena they could have played any arena they wanted in Canada and sold them out. Whereas they go to the States. I saw them in the States quite a bit in front of 400 people.
What's their big song?
I'll tell you a story about the Tragically Hip, right? I was performing, this is only maybe 3 years ago, the singer died, am I correct? Maybe that's 3 or 4. So 3 years ago, I was doing a gig in Canada. The singer from the Tragically Hip had cancer or a brain tumor or something. Am I right? Which is cancer. Yep. He was on limited time. They decided to do a concert live on TV over satellite on Canadian TV, right? And you had to watch it live. Of course, you could record it, but everyone wanted to watch it live. I had sold in that town 2,500 tickets, pre-sold. 400 people didn't show up because they wanted to stay home to watch the Tragically Hip on TV.
Wow.
Who had bought tickets to the show was sold out. The show was sold out. And I'm like, I guess they like this band, huh?
Yeah, I just got goosebumps you telling this story because that was one of the most I think collective things. It's like when your team is when your hockey team is playing for Olympic gold and everybody's in front of the TV. The same thing happened with the Tragically Hip that night. So I know exactly what you're talking about. The country shut down. The night the show was from Kingston, Ontario, and it was broadcast live on TV.
I would do a meet and greet after the show, maybe with 100 people, and they come up and you talk to them for a bit and you take a photo with them, and so every single person that night came up and went, I chose the hip over you. I chose you over the hip, man. I'm like, thanks. I appreciate that.
I didn't ask this question. The Dead had a famously horrible concert at one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Do you know which one it was, Jim?
Be the Pyramids.
Pyramids?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It would be Six Flags. I mean, probably the Pyramids.
It was the Pyramids. They played 3 nights in September of 1978. Set the whole thing up themselves. They went to the State Department in the U.S. and the Egyptian Department of Cultural whatever, and they played right at the base of the pyramids at the Sound and Light Theater. And they waited till the kind of sun went down, and magnificent photos. And I mean, a couple hundred Deadheads from America came over, but it was a lot of Egyptians, including Bedouin tribesmen. A lot of camel riding. And the most magnificent photos of the pyramids all lit up, the Sphinx lit up, and the band playing. They did 3 nights. They weren't horrible. They had there was definitely some great moments. We put a 2 CD set out from those shows. There were like 9 CDs worth of music. 6 or 7 of them were okay, but there was 2 CDs as a compilation. They were actually pretty good. But it kind of famously goes to the Dead, famously blowing it at the big ones, at Monterey, at Woodstock. They played a lot of these big places, and they, as they say, this is their words, they blew it at the big ones. And Egypt would be one of them where they didn't play 3 exceptional nights. And 1978 was a year that was they were capable of doing 3 wonderful nights in a row. And that didn't happen in Egypt. And I think they were just overwhelmed by
I thought
what
they
was around
almost
them.
died at the pyramid shows. Like it wasn't grounded
Is that
right.
why
They
you put this
touched-
question in there, Jack?
Yeah, I did. I thought like Bob Weir touched a microphone, got electrocuted or something.
I was like a King Ralph situation.
Happened at Woodstock for sure. Woodstock, they there was a lot of electricity bouncing around, separate from the drugs, but it was poorly grounded and it was raining and the wind. So yeah, Egypt had big mosquitoes and they were buzzing around the whole time. They were like bats. I think there were bats actually.
Wait a second, it was bad.
I'll tell you a bat story. So I was doing a gig in COVID. No, I was doing a gig in Des Moines, and this is
I was with you.
Yeah, this is the
remember
thing.
this, yeah.
So and now I've got to follow up to this story that just happened this week, and this is why it's all happening, right? So I'm on stage and I'm telling a joke, and then the audience all at once just recoils back and goes, yeah, like that, right? And I was like, what the fuck's going on? Turns out behind me a bat was flying around.
A couple of
And-
bats.
Yeah, well then it got to 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then the bat was flying around the auditorium and all that type of stuff. And I'm like, you can't perform for whatever reason. A bat takes everyone's attention. So I'm trying to perform these 2 fucking bats, and I'm like, people just ignore the bats and listen to the jokes. And then I'm like saying to the guy, like, I don't want to give everyone bloody refunds because a couple of fucking bats are here. Let's finish the show. So I said to the bloke, I said, draw the curtains, and then so I'm on about maybe the width of this desk. I'm on maybe like 2 feet of stage in front of the curtains. And behind the curtains, I can hear Laurel and Hardy fucking trying to get these fucking bats, right? The bats are flying on everything. And I was getting a bit annoyed. And I said to the stage manager in the corner, I said, hey, can you get the fucking bats? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Jefferies. This has never happened before. Now, why he was saying that, a bloke walks behind him with a fucking bat net. Like one of those great big nets with a big stick on it with a hoop that you catch butterflies in where the net's really deep, right? And he goes, never happened before. And I went, why the fuck do you own a bat net then?
Yeah, that would never.
Just in case.
Butterflies. Yeah, exactly.
No, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, right? So anyway, so he's there chasing after bats. Anyway, so it never happens. And then like afterwards, I was reading the comments in the show because I very rarely do
No, but
that.
the meet and greet people were saying.
Oh,
I
meet
remember.
and greet people
Yeah, they
were
were
like-
like, I was always bad.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there's always bats. There's always bats. Anyway, here's the button on the story. That was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Last night, a couple of nights ago, my agent rings me up and goes, I've got you booking for a theater in Des Moines, but it's the one with the bats. Where you had the bad experience with the bats. Are you all right with that? And I went, yeah, and fucking, said I'm vaccinated.
You bring your own bat net this time.
Let's fucking go back to so Des Moines. I'm coming.
All right.
Bring your bat nets.
Okay, so this is a part of the show called Dinner Party Facts, where David, where we ask the expert to give us one fact, obscure or interesting, on the topic that the audience can use to impress people at like a dinner party or bar, something that might not be well known.
I would say some of those records about the Grateful Dead on Billboard, the Grateful Dead with Guinness Book of World Records last year. 1994, Grateful Dead were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Pretty much as soon as you possibly can. I think you can be inducted 25 years after your first recording. The Dead, they were, I think anybody who's met kind of famous people, and I'm sure everybody says this about you, Jim, he's just a regular guy.
I am as famous as the Grateful Dead.
He's just a regular guy. And that's the thing about the Grateful Dead is they really are just regular guys. Mickey Hart won the first ever Grammy Award. I mentioned the Dead hadn't won a Grammy as the Grateful Dead, but Mickey's won a couple. He won the first ever Grammy Award in the world music category. So Mickey, outside of the Grateful Dead, and I mentioned earlier that he's a percussionist. He does some incredible percussion work. And that was one of the things he did early on. Grateful Dead, I mentioned they only played North America and Europe, but I guess they also played Egypt. That's not Europe, is it? No.
Middle East,
Africa,
Asia. I think it's
Yeah, that's
Africa.
It's Africa. Yeah, he's right. It's Africa.
That should be a clip right there.
Antarctica.
Yeah, I think it's at the bottom of the heel of the boot in Italy.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay.
Oh, the Grateful Dead have another record. They played the most concerts by any band. I'm sure there's some bar bands that have played more, but for bands that tour, 2,317 shows. They played 2,317 shows over their 30-year career.
2,317.
Yep.
I've done more gigs. I've done 3,000.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Hall of
comedy.
Fame.
Comedy.
You're talking about like at a club and an
Yeah,
open
comedy
mic.
is different because like when I was living in London, I was doing like 5 sets a night.
Yeah.
So you can really fucking chalk up the numbers.
Yeah.
No, but you're not a music act either.
Yeah, not a music act.
It takes a little bit more to set up.
I was
and
doing 7 gigs a week as well. So that's no.
You're cooking the books.
I also-
Yeah. Some of my shows were 5 minutes.
the 2 people.
Yeah. No, they were. A lot of my performances were 5 minutes in that statistic. But I have gotten on stage over 3,000 times.
Yeah, I like how you said there might be a bar band. If there's a bar band that's done more than 2,300 shows, I don't want to see that bar. That's got to be a sad group of people. Like, we're gonna make it any day. Just keep playing.
Maybe they do it for the
Highway
love
to
of the
Hell.
music.
Yeah. 2 tickets to paradise. All right, David. So they can find you on Twitter at Lemieux David. That's LEMIEUXDAVID. And then it says at Grateful Dead too. So is that an account that you run?
The Dead have their Twitter account, Grateful Dead, and then all the Dead's activities are at their website, dead.net, and that's where you can find out, touring activities for Dead and Company when they get back on the road. I know everybody's anxious for that. They just announced that they're doing a couple of weekends in Mexico in January of 2022. So those are the first announced Dead and Company shows. That's the band with the 3 guys from the Dead, plus John Mayer and Jeff and O'Teal. So that's getting on the road, and people are incredibly anxious. Again, Jim, if the Dead play anywhere near you, let us know. You got to go see them. It's a fun time.
I want to see that. If they're back at the Hollywood Bowl or something, I'm in. I'll go.
They played at Dodgers once.
I'll go.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they play. Yeah, like I don't know if they ever played that. Well, they would know the Hollywood Bowl, but maybe.
No,
Yeah,
Jack talked about it.
The Dead and Company played Hollywood Bowl a few times, Dodger Stadium.
The Forum.
They definitely play and love LA. They played the Forum, I think. They love it there.
Yeah, we'll go see him, Jim.
All right, David, thank you for being on the show. I know a little bit now about the Grateful Dead. Jack, I want you to test me on this one in a little while.
Okay.
See if I recall anything from this. Yeah. Give me a test on this. If you're ever at a party and someone comes up to you and says, that Jim Jefferies knows a lot about the Grateful Dead, go, well, I don't know about that, and walk away. Good night, Australia.